Welcome to the Basketball and Brew podcast produced by Jude McLaren, and I am your host, Dan Miller. Thank you for joining us for this week's podcast, and please help us out by subscribing to our podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you are watching, and please give us a follow on Twitter. Today's podcast is brought to you by our sponsors right here in beautiful San Marcos, Texas. Pie Society is an excellent stop in San Marcos for great New York-style pizzas made with the freshest ingredients, local beers on tap, and an overall fun and cool vibe. And come into Zellick's Ice House for their happy hour drink specials, spacious outside patio, and a great time with friends. We are very excited tonight to welcome Nolan Smith to the podcast. After an outstanding playing career at Duke, where he was the 2011 ACC Player of the Year, led the ACC in scoring, won the national championship in 2010. Coach Smith was a coach at Duke for 6 years before coming to Louisville, where he's now currently assistant coach at Louisville. Coach Smith, what an honor to have you. Welcome to Basketball and Brew Podcast.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, Coach. Well, first I got to ask you, how are things going as you're getting prepared? I know you have a great recruiting class coming in here for season 2 at Louisville.
Very exciting. Very exciting. Obviously, we all know, the basketball world knows it was a challenging year last year for us. And but for me as a coach, it was a very rewarding year. I feel like I got better as a coach, having to, really coach the group that we had. And, throughout the year, we got better. Now, we didn't see the wins from that, but the group never quit. They continued to be challenged every single day, and they progressed. And I think as a coach, that's rewarding when you're able to get a group when you're able to see the growth. So that was one thing from last year. But really looking ahead to this year, you mentioned a really good recruiting class, got some really good transfers. I can mention them now. Sky Clark, Trey White from USC to go along with the recruiting class with Trenton Flowers, Dennis Evans, returning guys, Mike James, Brandon Huntley-Hatfield, Emmanuel, JJ. So we feel really good about our group. We're talented. We're big. All of our guys are really just excited to put the jersey on. And the beautiful thing is that I love how the young guys now, they're already talking like they were a part of last year.
Right.
And I think that's beautiful when a young kid can come in and they could easily be like, man, we ain't worried about last year. Like this is new. It's a new start. This is really the beginning of y'all. Like, no, we want them to feel what we went through last year and feel that and add that to the chip that they already have on their shoulder. And they're doing that, which is really cool and exciting because every single time we take the court next season, we have to have that edge. And a lot of teams got us last year. We have to remember that. So we're excited heading into this summer. We get going here in about 2 weeks with this new group. It's going to be a long and grueling summer of chemistry building and just getting better on the court.
Yeah, Coach, it's a very exciting class, and I noticed a mix of high school kids coming in and then those talented transfers and very talented high school players where I saw the class ranked number 2 in the ACC, only behind Duke, which is, one of the top classes in the nation. So what a class. Can I ask, for some people who may not know, do you get to work with those guys this summer, the transfers, and you'll have your whole team there this summer? So like you said, in 2 weeks, it's full practices. Everyone's going to be there at Louisville?
Absolutely. We get to hit the ground running, and it starts in about 2 weeks. We get 4 hours a week to work out with our guys. You can choose however you want to do it. It's 4 hours, 8 weeks per summer. So you can stretch it out throughout the whole summer, knock it out 8 weeks in a row, then they go home. But we do a little bit of individual. We might mix in some team workouts within those hours, but really just focus on the skill development, and then just making it hard. Everything that we do is very hard. It's challenging. Every young man today says that they want to be an NBA player. We have a staff that all played at that level. We have Milt Wagner and Reese Gaines also on staff that play at that level. It has to be hard. It has to be challenging. So from day one, we have to challenge these guys in order to develop and get better.
Yep, absolutely, Coach. It's going to be a great summer. I'm real excited to watch it. Coach, personally, it's just got to be special to be there where your father won a national championship. And I know we're definitely going to talk about your playing days at Duke. But before that, just how does that feel when you're coaching Louisville and you walk out there knowing that's where your father led them to a national championship?
Yeah, man, it's been a very exciting feeling. Not emotional anymore. I tell this story all the time. My decision came down to Duke and Louisville.
Sure.
Right. And I tell people when I've been at restaurants here, man, love that you're home, coach, but wish you would have played here too. And I've been able to tell the story to many, many people that have asked, why didn't you come here? And I was like, as a 16, 17-year-old kid, to be able to handle the emotions of being Derek Smith's son,
Mm-hmm.
to probably wear his
Mm-hmm.
number and run out in Freedom Hall every game, I would not have been able to handle that as a 16-year-old,
Sure.
17-year-old kid. But now I'm 34 years old, I
Mm-hmm.
can handle it. So now
Right.
I'm able to come around and hear all the amazing stories
Right.
about my dad. I walk out to the arena, the Yum Center for games. I meet somebody. Man, I was here when your dad was here. Like, just hearing those stories every single game now is really cool for me, really exciting. And now heading into next season, I'm gonna continue to embrace those moments and embrace those stories. Being
Yep.
here, where my dad left his legacy, and hopefully now make him very proud. Get
Yep.
this basketball program back to top five the way it should be.
Yep, absolutely, Coach. I have no doubt you guys will do it there, and he is proud because what an amazing career you had playing, and now you are having as a coach. Coach, let me go back to when you are at Oak Hill Academy and you're being recruited, and you kind of talked about Louisville. That was going to be one of my questions, choosing Duke over Louisville and all these schools. Does that experience, and then ultimately you chose Duke, but does that experience help you go into a McDonald's All-Americans home or on the phone and talk through it because you were there? You went through that exact experience now as a coach.
Absolutely, I definitely think it helps me as a recruiter and somebody who's a mentor to every young player
Mm-hmm.
that I'm blessed to come across paths with. I always tell them you don't have to talk to me like I'm a coach. You can talk to me like I'm a big brother. I mean, I played this game. I'm not that old. I'm still one of those young coaches in this game, and I just want them to know that I've been through it. I've been through
Mm-hmm.
what they're going through, the recruiting process, where they're trying to get to. So being able to just say, hey, look, I chose Duke, right? I
Mm-hmm.
chose players. If you're going to choose a school like Louisville, Kentucky, Carolina, Duke, right? Kansas, there's going to be talented players there. There's so many talented players around this world. That's part of the journey,
Right.
So I think when I get to speak from experiences on why I chose Duke, what did I look for in that challenge? It's definitely part of some of the things I get to keep it real with these young players. It's like, hey, one day you want to be in the NBA. You can't run from talent.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You got to face it head on, and if you are that man, then prove it.
Right.
Then prove it. So I think that I get to speak from experience. I think that's the beauty of what I do. I love what I do, and I think that's why I got into coaching to be
Right.
to be that person and to be that big brother mentor for these young players trying to reach their dream.
Right. Coach, that's awesome. And can I ask, when you were going through that process, did you take other visits? And then how did you make your choice to
Yep.
attend Duke University?
Yep. So I did not take any visits. I took two. I took one here to Louisville,
Mm-hmm.
and I took one to Duke.
Mm-hmm.
They're very spread out. As a seventh grader, I think a lot of people had me committed to Louisville on most of the recruiting sites back then. Um, but ultimately, when Johnny Dawkins called my mom and asked, was I still open? I think that's when I knew that Duke was the school, because Johnny Dawkins and my dad played together for the 76ers.
Mm-hmm.
And that relationship that I had with him, I knew I was going to have somebody that I could lean on when I had a bad day. I knew I
Mm-hmm.
could call Uncle Johnny and
Right.
go to him and talk to him about the game. And obviously, he played at the highest level, and I respected that and admired that. And he gave me some of the best advice all the time. And even though he was only there for a year with me before he left for Stanford.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but he made the decision very easy. And so then to go play for Coach K, to go compete against the guys that were there. I mean, before I got there, there's already four McDonald's All Americans going in there before me. But I never shied away from a challenge. I never shied away from going to play with other stars. Um,
Right.
that was something I always wanted to do, and knew that if I ever wanted to make it to the NBA, I had to learn how to be a star among stars.
Right. Absolutely, Coach, and you definitely were. Um, Let me ask, as a freshman, though, before you became the star at Duke, you got to pay your dues, especially at a school like Duke. It's very rare that freshmen come in and light it up. First
Yep.
thing, when you're at the first practice and Coach K is your coach, I mean,
Yep.
do you ever just say, damn, Coach K is my coach? And, what was that like, your first practice with Coach K? And then also, just how was your freshman year? Because I know that's a tough but rewarding year, but you got to get through it.
Yeah. Nah, definitely a little starstruck at times. I remember that first film session. You're sitting in the locker room. He walks in. You're just like, you're looking up and like, man, this is Coach K getting ready to talk to us. What's he about to say? and you're just eating up every word that he says because he's gonna say something profound or something great. You're just waiting for what he's gonna say just to boom, just
Right.
take it all in. But back then was a different time, right? It was a different
Hmm.
time where when you came in as a freshman, no matter if you were McDonald's All American or not, you had to pay your dues,
Hmm.
right? Unless you were one of those just super, just freakishly athletic and just ready to play right away.
Right.
9 times out of 10, you're either going to be in college for 3 or 4 years, and that was just the climate. So now, just going as a coach, I've now seen him change, and now the freshmen come in and get to play
Right.
right away, and but that's part of the game and how it's changed, and that's one thing that's made Coach K amazing is that he was able to adapt with the times.
Hmm.
Me going in, I had to pay my dues,
Hmm.
and I loved it. It was a challenge. There were days where I was going at Greg Paulus, and I felt like, man, I should have been starting. But then there were days where he'd come back and get me. So it was just that constant battle, that competition that I
Hmm.
loved. But there are games where I might only played 9 minutes, and it's like, man, like I feel like I should be playing more. But it was all part of the journey. And Coach K never stopped talking to me.
Hmm.
He stopped believing in me. He's like, he'd always say, stick with it, but he would challenge you too. It wasn't always positive. It was like,
Sure.
you're not doing this, you're not doing that, and you'd go back, man. Coach, you would say coach is nitpicking, but then as you go back in the summertime, you'd be like, all right, well, what did coach always say that he wanted from me? Well, you're not talking enough. You're a typical freshman. You don't talk enough.
Hmm.
You're not defending at the high enough level. Okay, well, I'm going to show you.
Right.
Now I'm back and I'm going to talk more. I'm going to defend more. So now, what are you going to say now? Once I check all these boxes of what you want me to be, you're going to have to play me. So
Right.
each summer, I kind of put it upon myself and my training. We lock ourselves in the gym in PG County, Maryland, to really dedicate myself to what Coach K was telling me. But what he was telling me was challenge me and trying to make me the best player that I can be.
Right. Absolutely, coach, and I love that. And you're right, it is a different time now. So when as a coach, how do you embrace the freshmen then who come to you and they're struggling as an assistant coach? And I know
Yep.
you've been there at Duke and now you're also there at Louisville because every freshman wants to come in. They all were some All-American, especially where you are at Louisville and Duke.
Yep.
And what do you tell them? What's your advice? Because now it's a lot of them are going to end up in the transfer portal, but as assistant coach, I know that's part of your role to get
Yep.
them to understand it. So,
Yep.
what advice and how do you handle that?
Yep. Yep. So there's a couple things that I like to do. And first things first is just helping them embrace the journey,
Hmm.
help them understand right away when they first get to college, it's going to be a process.
Hmm.
They think that just because they were all American or Mr. Basketball in the state that they come from, when you step foot in those college doors, it's going to be a war. There's somebody
Right.
there waiting on you that's been through a lot, that's been through college. I mean, we have 4 guys that are here waiting for the new class to come in
Yeah.
that just went 4 and 28. You think they're just gonna come in and lay down for you just because you're this new talented kid? No, that's part of the journey, though. That's part of your mentality that when you come in, you better understand what's waiting on you.
Hmm.
And if you don't, it's gonna be a long first couple
Right.
weeks or maybe first couple months or 2 months. That's all depending on you. But that's where I like to come in and just really help these guys understand what they're coming into, how hard it is, the next level, the journey. It's no longer high school; it's college,
Right.
and each level gets harder and harder.
Yep.
I just ended up sending a kid a text today where I said, "Hey man, when you come in, you're not a freshman."
Mm.
And he texted me back, "Man, thanks, coach." And I said, "And I want you to really understand what I just said to you. A freshman is a label. That's a tag,
Hmm.
right? That might be a year, but at the end of the day, you get to them lines, you can't be young.
Yep.
You can't be young. So I think if I can continue to help these young players think like that, man, I'm just a player. I'm a player. Forget the classes. Forget freshman,
Yep.
sophomore, junior, senior. Just be a player. Be
Right.
confident. Be aggressive. Get between them lines. You belong on that court just like that senior belongs on that court. So
Yep.
there's just building that confidence and building a level of good positive arrogance amongst the young player is kind of what I like to do to make sure that they're not thinking young.
Yep.
Sometimes they like to come in and defer to an older guy because they feel like that's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
No, I want you to go at that older guy, challenge that older guy, in a good and classy, respectful way, but
Right.
challenge him. Make
Right.
him come back at you harder the next day. So then now each player, as they're butting heads, they don't know it, but they're getting better.
Rising up. I love that, coach. I love that. And I'm excited to see what you guys do there with those young guys. Let me ask you this, coach, with your transfers and your freshmen now coming in, do you have to blend them and form a chemistry, and they're very talented. And so this summer, what are some of the things that you guys will do as a staff? Will there be some things that you took from Coach K, ideas because you guys were the ultimate team, and then I know your head coach was at Kentucky; they were the same way, and with all his experience, are those things as a staff you talk about? Like, okay, we have this talented team now; we're way more talented than last year, but how are
Yep.
we going to blend them so they are a team's team?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's a challenge for every team in the country now,
Sure.
with the portal, because
Yeah.
you're bringing in so many new guys. But for our team, absolutely. And Coach Payne and myself and Coach Manning, Coach Jameson, we've been talking about it from since the season ended to now. Is like we have to build chemistry. We have to make
Yep.
sure these guys are right. There's a bunch of ways that you can do that. I have a lot of ideas. We all have a lot of ideas, but I think the main thing that we're going to make sure our guys are doing is playing.
Yep.
A lot of 5-on-5,
Yep.
3-on-3, 1-on-1, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to get between those lines and compete and learn each other's games as many times as possible. So if it's Saturday morning, everybody loves a Saturday morning pickup. And you got to get in there and you got to play for 3 hours. Don't just
Yep.
play best of seven. No, play 11 games
Yeah.
to where you're just going after it. You're competing. You're learning where somebody likes to shoot from, and
Yep.
all the things that happen throughout the basketball game. So now when the summer's over and they've played a whole bunch of pickup, they kind of have a feel for what their teammates like to do and what they don't like to do.
Right, right. And when I look at your class, coach, it looks like you guys really put together a good blend and a mix together that's going to form really good. And is it a lot of the 5-on-5 in this summer and the fall's practices that will help with that? Obviously, getting that chemistry so they get to know each other and learn each other's game.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of our main things is making sure that they're all learning how to be basketball players,
Right.
how to make plays, how to make the extra pass, how to break down the
Mm.
defense, get in the paint, but not just to score, to make the kick and then make the extra pass and then drive again, get in the paint again. Oh, you might have a good layup, but there's a wide open shooter in the corner for a great three. Do
Mm.
you make those plays? The
Right.
more times throughout the game that you make that extra pass, the one more from a good to great shot. If you can do that at a higher level than your opponent, you're gonna win the game.
Right.
So just as long as these guys get a feel for that and learning how to play basketball, we're gonna be in a really good position next year.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited, like I said, to watch it, Coach. Coach, with that chemistry that you guys are forming there, obviously your junior year, you had incredible chemistry and a high level of talent. And just remembering that team, and I was actually at the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight games in Houston. Um, I remember just seeing how much talent, but you guys were so together. On one night, it could be you who gets going, John Shire gets going, Singler going. I remember your post, Coach K switched up the rotations that
Yep.
year to play two guys together, and then you sub two and two. So there was obviously a lot of sacrifice. But how did you guys get that chemistry? And also, did you know in the beginning of the year or middle of the year that you had something special, and this could be the year that you get another banner national championship?
Yeah, I think that year we knew it from day one,
Hmm.
because you had Kyle Singler and myself were juniors,
Hmm.
and then Shire, Lance Thomas, and Brian Zubek were seniors. So the five of us together, we had lost in the second round and then the Sweet 16. So we had already been through something
Mm-hmm.
together. Losses that are painful losses. I mean, when
Right.
you lose the tournament, it hurts.
Right.
So the five of us have lost together twice. We've all been in that locker room, seeing each other's tears, seeing each other not want to take the jersey off, knowing that the season had come to an end too early. Um, so I think when you go through that, that helps you look ahead, like, okay, all right, well, we know we got in this locker room with this five,
Right.
and then you bring in Miles Plumley, Mason Plumley, Ryan Kelly, Andre Dawkins. So that's really your bench. And then you had Seth Curry practicing against us that whole year. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the five that you're practicing against. Start of the season, we were killing them, and we made it very clear that us five older guys were going to go at you young guys.
Mm-hmm.
But then those guys never backed down.
Okay.
They would go back at us and make it hard. Throughout the year when we were feeling good and playing good, every practice was a battle. So they helped us get better every single day. And one of the cool things I remember about that year is Coach K never wanted to really give us our props, right?
Mm.
Throughout the year, he said, "All right, you guys are a good team." And then we won the ACC tournament, and he said, "Okay, you guys are a really good team." And then we get to the Final Four, and he goes, "Okay, you guys are a really, really good team." And then finally we win it. And he comes in the locker room, he looks at us, and he goes, "You know what? You guys are a great team."
That's
So
awesome.
he kept us humble throughout the year by
Sure.
telling us that. And but now we have been through, and I think that's one thing when I think about next year's team here at Louisville is the four guys that were part of last year. We hope those four guys energy, demeanor, mentality from day one of summer rubs off on the young guys that, yo, that was bad. And
Right.
we never want to feel that again for our fan base, for the city, everything that they've been through before we got here. We cannot feel that again.
Right.
Let's go. And we have to
Yep.
attack the summer the way we're going to attack the season.
Right. I love it, Coach. And that's what you guys are talking about it now already. So you got to be up front. And I love what you said about the guys who weren't even there. They're like, hey, we're not letting this happen again. That's just a mantra. We're going to get back to Louisville greatness to take it to a whole nother level. Coach, how do you get, the dogs in practice? Like, or do you recruit guys who are just going to set the tone? Because like you said, you guys were going at it when you played at Duke. You had a great five, but these five guys, Andre and the guys, they weren't backing down. And that's what
Yep.
made those practice battles just unbelievable. How
Yeah.
do you get
Yeah.
that? Do you recruit that? Do you guys already as coaches, have you identify a couple of these guys already? These guys are all talented, but these two or three guys, these are going to be our dogs. They're going to set the tone.
Yeah, you got to recruit that mentality,
Okay.
and I think it's just doing your homework, talking to the mom and the dad, talking to the family, finding out everything that you need to find out about a young man's family. It's why is he playing the game? There's
Mm-hmm.
so many questions that you can ask to figure out who a player is. How bad do they want it? Do they
Yep.
want it for the city? Do they want it for their family? Are they excited to really come and put on the Louisville uniform and be a Cardinal? When you find that out, you'll know exactly what type of player you're getting.
Mm-hmm.
And we definitely want a whole group of hungry dogs,
Yeah.
guys that are gonna be pit bulls, guys that understand that they're trying to chase their dream, they're trying to put on that NBA hat on draft night, and understanding how hard that is, and understand every night when you step up, the opponent across from you is trying to take that from you.
Right.
And if you truly understand that, you're going to compete at a high level every single night.
Yep.
I mean, there's 60 draft picks every year. I mean, one of the crazy things that I think about now from time to time is just like, when I'm sitting around my family or somebody might mention it to me, but in 75 years, there's only been 4,000, like, I think the number's like 4,600 something NBA players. Like,
Yep.
it's hard to do.
Yep.
So if you're gonna go after it and think and give yourself a fighting chance to make it, you have to compete at a
Mm.
very, very high level, night in, night out, and it's gonna be painful
Yep.
going for it. And I think that's what we want. That's the mentality that we want every single one of our players to have. Is that it's serious. It's life or death. I
Yep.
mean, that's the dream that you say you want to chase.
Yep.
It's life or death. You got to go after it as if somebody's trying to take something from your mom.
Right. Right.
They try to take you want to buy your mom a house. Well, this guy's trying to take that from you,
Yep.
and that's how you get that mentality. That's how these kids get that mentality to be so hungry on the court, relentless, and then compete with their teammates.
Absolutely. Coach, last week's guest that we had on our podcast, Tobin Anderson, he led the biggest D1 change in wins. They had 4 wins before he got there, and then an increase of 17 to 21. I can say it, you can't because you're there, but I said I'm going to predict that we have back-to-back podcasts who set that record because Louisville's going to do it this year. I'm telling you, the turnaround, that class you have, the coaching staff you have, I'm excited to watch that. Coach, I got to ask, you played with so many great teammates. And I
Yep.
want to ask about being a great teammate, and especially for the youngsters that listen to our podcast. Sometimes they want to be great players, but we want them to know they got to be great teammates.
Yep.
Who? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but who are some of the great teammates you played with, and then what are those characteristics?
Yeah. So I mean, just looking at my Duke teammates, Shire was a great teammate because he was a competitor. He
Mhm.
came every day and showed us how to compete. As a young guy, you just saw him competing. The younger guys coming behind his competitive level was always at a high level. Kyle Singler was a leader by example. we were college roommates from freshman year on. So just watching his work ethic, getting up early, taking care of his body, you know, as a player, I like to think that I was doing everything right as well and trying to chase my dream. But then you can always take notes from other great players and
Mm-hmm.
saying, like, okay, man, he's waking up at 7, he's doing some stretching, or he's drinking a whole bunch of water. So just taking notes. And Kyle was just one of those guys, like, he didn't talk a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but everything he did, everything he, whether shooting drills, he was competitive. He wanted to win. His drive to be great was just at such a high level. Um, Lance Thomas was just he was a vocal leader.
Mm-hmm.
His energy, his passion, how much he cared about winning. I mean, that all those things stuck out to me. And I just kind of was just being a sponge from all these guys that are around me.
Yep.
The guys before me, DeMarcus Nelson was a really good leader, lead by example, and he leveled his voice. So just taking in all this knowledge from these great guys, great players, and kind of molding who I wanted to be as a leader. So then by my senior year, I became that leader where I
Right.
was vocal, I led by
Mm-hmm.
example. I was never going to be last in a sprint. I was going to touch every line. If I saw a piece of trash in front of me walking from door to door, I was going to stop and pick it up. All those little things
Yep.
matter. And I learned so
Yes.
many of those lessons from Coach K. And that's why Coach K obviously helped me become the man that I am, but also the coach that I am. All the little things, attention to detail, all those things matter in helping you become a great leader and a great player. Um, I think just for young kids and becoming a great teammate, this is a team sport,
Right.
right? The best lesson I ever got was at a young age. I think at the time I got an attitude on the court. I think I might have been 9 and under 10. I was very, very young, right? So typical 9-year-old attitude. I was mad. My teammates were missing layups because I was very advanced for my age. And my mom quickly snatched me up after a game, got me in the car. She says, "You know what? We're gonna play tennis. You're not gonna play basketball anymore. You're gonna play tennis." And I was like, "Tennis, mom? Why tennis?" She's like, "Well, if you want to have a bad attitude and not be a great teammate, then you should play tennis. The only person you can get mad at is yourself." She's like, "Because if you're gonna play that game, you're gonna play basketball. You better be a great teammate to every
Right.
single person on your team." So right then and there, I learned a very, very valuable lesson. I still play tennis because it was my getaway
Okay.
to get mad at myself. So it was a great release and great footwork as well. So
Sure. Yeah.
I love tennis, but it was a very valuable lesson I learned from my mom then that I had to be a great teammate.
Yes.
And
Yes.
just patting smile on the back, encouraging another teammate. You never know what your voice or saying, "Hey, you're going to make the next shot. You're
Yep.
going to make the next layup." If you're at a young age and you have a big man that's not quite making layups, go give him a pat on the back and say, "Hey, man, you're going to make your next one."
Yep.
You never know whether you're 9, 10, 11, 12, 18 years old. That helps your teammate.
Yep.
That helps lift them up. And everybody needs different type of leadership. So if you're a point guard or a center, if you're the leader, you have to learn how to lead each and every person on your team to help them get better.
Absolutely. And coach, you were a great leader. I was able to attend some Duke practices and saw it firsthand. And the first time I met you, I also want to speak on your humility, just how humble and nice of a person you are. That goes hand in hand. I do have to ask this. I love what your mom did. What a great, cool lesson. Did that make you the best ping pong table tennis player on Duke? Did you beat everyone because of the tennis, or did other people beat you?
I was always a solid table tennis player. I was
Yep.
always solid.
Yep.
Now tennis, I'm definitely really good tennis. I wish I played more now. Now I'm so getting into golf, but
Okay.
you
Yep.
know, I always loved tennis.
Yep.
But competitive, very competitive in the ping pong.
I love it. I would love to see a match with you and Zubak or something like that. That'd be kind of cool. Coach, I got to ask, then now you win the national championship your senior year. I mean, just an absolutely incredible year, ACC Player of the Year, led
Yep.
the conference in scoring, second in assists. I mean, just amazing. But you had a very talented teammate in
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving come in as a freshman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know he didn't get hurt and didn't get to finish, and you stepped up and just amazing. But I just got to ask you, the first couple of times you ran with Kyrie, did you know like this dude is this special, or how did that go?
Yes, absolutely. He was very special, scary special from day one. I just remember specifically one play and pickup where he comes down and he splits the ball screen with his left hand, throws it through, doesn't touch it with his right hand, pats it back over to the left side, kind of does the Kyrie little twirl, and Mason Plumlee's coming over from the right side, who's this freak athlete. And I'm like, oh, he's about to beat this up, right? Kyrie looks at him, looks back up, and then just does like this high left hand finish high off the backboard. And Mason swatted at it twice, misses, and Kyrie runs back and slaps him on his thigh, and just like nice try. And
Man.
I'm,
Oh man.
and I'm like, this is a freshman, just like that. He was just toying with dudes in
Yeah.
pickup.
Yeah.
I always tell people like, if he doesn't get hurt, I think we probably have a chance to go
Mm-hmm.
undefeated that year.
Wow.
We had everything that a college basketball team would need to
Yep.
win it and be special because
Yep.
we had two seniors and myself and Kyle who had
Yep.
just won a championship
Yep.
and that knew how to win.
Mm-hmm.
You added Kyrie, you had Ryan Kelly who was coming on,
Mm-hmm.
Mason Plumlee, big time athlete, rim protector, lob threat. Miles Plumlee, rim protector, lob threat, really coming on. You had Seth Curry, a sniper. You
Sniper.
had Andre Dawkins, a sniper,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had obviously scores with Kyrie, Kyle, and myself. So you had everything. And
Man.
that those first couple games, I mean, we were playing Kansas State, Marquette,
Mm-hmm.
Michigan State. We played Butler, and we were beating those teams pretty easy for to be so early in the year. But to our standards, those were games that we just kind of walked through them and knew we were gonna win.
Mm-hmm.
But and then daggone toe.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. And that backcourt with you, Kyrie, and then Seth, the sniper. I mean, that's unbelievable. And then Kyle. And that was a year that was so special just personally for you, though. I mean, you could just all the things you did leading the ACC and scoring. Can I ask about before I sort of mentioned Carolina? I know how it goes, but just the comeback where you beat them
Yeah,
was unbelievable. I still remember watching that game, and I think you might have had 34. Seth was on fire the second half. Was there
yeah,
anything at the halftime that Coach K said, or what was it about that game that you guys came roaring back and just a
yeah.
special win?
Yes, no, man, that was one of those games. Coach came in the locker room and just kind of stared at me,
Mm,
and he kind of said, like, "Is this how we're gonna go down?" And he walked out.
mm,
So I had to sit there for 8 minutes, however long they were gone, out into the coach's locker room.
yep.
He comes back and I said, Coach, we're not losing this game.
Mm,
That was one of those senior
yep.
moments where
Yep.
Coach K put it upon Kyle and myself to win the game.
Yeah.
And so that's where you saw us come out that locker room and play with that edge, play with that chip, get Seth Curry going. Myself, I had in my mind I wasn't gonna let us lose. So if that was either finding Ryan Kelly for a three, Andre, Seth, Kyle, or going to score the ball myself, I had to do whatever it took to win
Right.
defensively as well. Take the matchup. Kendall Marshall was facilitating and doing whatever he wanted at that point. Just had to really guard him and make it
Yep.
hard for him as well. But just had to do whatever it took to win, and I think that was the beautiful thing in coach, where he knew when to sit back and let his players play.
Sure. Sure, absolutely, and it was special. Coach, can I ask about rivalry? Obviously, you came from this North Carolina Duke, the biggest rival in college basketball, Louisville, Kentucky. Do you guys feel that as players as much as the fans? Because we know the fans, it's crazy. I went out
Yeah.
there and it's you're one side or the other. It's just it's unbelievable. As players, do you get caught up in that, or how do you handle that as a player in such a big rivalry?
Oh man, it's a tough couple of days leading into that game because
Mm,
you can't go anywhere, grocery store, anywhere, fast food spot, anything you do, the mall, you're gonna hear about that game from the drive-through person to the person checking you out at the mall, whatever it is. It's man, y'all better win, or man, y'all know we can't lose to them. Just everything you're gonna hear it all. FedEx delivery guy. I mean, I had a FedEx situation where a guy, I mean, basically wrote a note on my delivery package saying, go Tar Heels, like just everything. I mean, it was special. I think from afar, I think everybody would would love to know that it's as crazy as you see on the, from the outside looking in.
Yeah,
Um, but it was a big game. So you try to just stay as poised and calm as you can, lead into that game and look at it like it's just another game. But no matter what, that environment, whether it's in Cameron or at the Dean Dome, it's just a big time environment that you got to bring your A game.
yeah. So many just great battles. And coach, I think your record as a player was you 72-2. You lost two at
Yeah,
home. You lost two home games. That's unbelievable. What is
yeah,
it like playing in front of Cameron Indoor? And then how can you and you guys get that back at Louisville, that because that
yeah,
home court advantage is just so special, and being a part of
yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, no, playing in Cameron was crazy. I mean, just it's so small. Everybody's right on top of you. Crazies are right there. I mean, it's just a big time environment that they've created. Just a amazing fan culture there that makes it very hard for the opposing team. It was very fun being on the visiting bench this year for the first time, just to
Yeah.
feel that energy
Mm.
and understanding how hard it is. And when they go on those 6 to 8-0 runs in there, you try and understand those runs are going to happen, but it gets loud during those runs. And here in Louisville, I mean, we have a big time fan
Hmm.
base here that when we're rolling next year, they're gonna come out, getting the students on campus and getting the villains in there, filling up that student section. We have the whole row of student sections that we can fill in there. They're ready. They're ready
Yep.
for next season, and I think
Yep.
consistently one of the biggest in the country in college basketball at 22,000. The best part about Louisville fans is they know basketball.
Yeah.
I think the best fans in the country, from wherever whatever school you're at, when they know basketball, when they can react to a missed call, when they can react to a team going on an 8-0 run, when they know our team needs a stop and they don't need a coach to get up and say, "Come on, we need you here." They already know.
Yep.
That's what Louisville has. It's
Mm.
a time fan base that
Yep.
knows basketball, and I
Yep.
think that's what makes them really special.
Yep, and it's going to be fun to watch it packed this year in a very competitive ACC. Coach, this has been great. We got a few more minutes. I have a few more questions. I want to ask you, and I wanted to say this too about the fans. I read a quote that Coach K called you the greatest player that he coached, who is a connector to the fans. You were one with the Spartan Crazy, or I'm sorry, not Spartan Crazies, the Cameron Crazies,
Yeah,
and got them, excited. But did you take that personal, or does that just, how did you become such a spearheaded, like, I want to embrace the student section? Because
yeah.
some players maybe are a little more standoffish with it.
Yeah. No, for me, it's just part of the game. And fans are so much a part of this game that I just naturally gravitated to the students that were
Sure.
coming to the games and would hang out with them on campus or say what's up to them when I was walking to my car right there in Caveville. And I think it's just embracing them that they're students, they're our peers. The
Yep.
fans, the fans, you see them and you want them to know that they come back and they're supporting you. So just really embracing that, something I always want to do as a player and especially now as a coach. That you know, good, the bad, the ugly. Last year, during the good, I'm gonna give my high fives on the way out and say thank you. I mean, I
Yep.
just always been raised to just be appreciative for what I have as a coach now and what I had as a player. That people are supporting me and coming out to watch me and watch my team play. And I think that's just they're such a big part of this game. I mean, COVID was weird when they
Right.
weren't there,
Right.
but I'm blessed to have played for a great coach fan base and now coaching at a great fan base with Louisville. So it's very just exciting and you know trying to embrace that as much as possible.
Yep, I love how you embrace it, Coach. And I just want to ask. I got two more questions, Coach.
Yeah,
The next one's just about point guard play.
yeah,
What do you look for when you're recruiting? Everyone says they're a point guard, but are they a point guard? And then also, do you believe in the theory of a combo guard? That's such a talked about thing, because some people maybe said you were a combo guard, but you could run
yeah.
point guard, but you could swing over and run the two. Is that something you as a staff talk about? Maybe we need one true point guard. We need a combo. What are those discussions like in the meetings in Louisville recruiting when you're talking about point guards?
Yep. So now I think when you look at the point guard position, you're looking for a playmaker. So I
Hmm.
think you are kind of looking for a combo guard that has the mentality of making plays for other, but that can also score when they need to score. And I think that's kind of changed. There's not too many true point guards out there anymore. Look at the NBA, you probably can count three.
Hmm.
Chris Paul, Michael Conley. Like, there's not too many true point guards. They all scored at a high level, but they all make the right plays throughout the game.
Right.
So I think for the college level, for us, we're looking for a point guard that's going to make plays, knows how to get in the paint, knows how to kick,
Yep.
doesn't get in the paint, and 9 times out of 10 he's throwing up a floater or throwing up a tough shot. No,
Right.
do you see the guy in the corner that's wide open? Do you see the guy on the wing? Do you see the big man rolling down your back for a dump off? You got to be able to see those plays and make plays as a point guard. And then knowing that you can also score the ball and make plays. I mean, if you're a point guard, the ball is in your hand a lot of the game.
Right.
Possession by possession, you're going to touch the ball. So
Yep.
you have to feel for it. But you got to be able to get your teammates involved, understand when your wings need a shot, when your big man needs a touch. When you drive, do you have a floater? Yeah, but your big man's been working his butt off in ball screen defense. Throw the lob, get him a bucket. That's what a point guard's supposed to do. And then vocal. Are you vocal? Do you talk? Do you talk offensively? Do you talk defensively? Do you have a relationship with your coach when we go out on the circuit? I'm watching for all these little things from the point guard / combo guards that I'm looking for to see how they're interacting as a basketball player.
Oh man, coach, that is good stuff. And the cerebral part, I love what you said too about knowing, okay, I got to get my big man the ball. He's been working all those things and the relationship with coach. And I know you had a special relationship with your coach, Coach K, and I know your guards will with you and your head coach and everyone there. Coach, before I let you go, we always ask this question to close. If someone's coming through town, maybe to watch practice, maybe we take in a game, what is a favorite spot Coach Smith would like to eat and to send somebody? But I got to ask two-part because some people on the Twitter had to ask this about also back in North Carolina. If you're in Durham, did you have a favorite restaurant there, and do you have a favorite restaurant in Louisville to send the fans to?
Uh, I say favorite restaurant back in Durham. I'd probably say the Dankery.
Okay.
Dankery's new up and coming spot in Durham that's very popular within Duke's campus amongst the students and everybody in Durham now. It's really blown up. It's not the healthiest. Now at 34, I'm more so looking for a healthier
Right,
food
right.
choice. But if you've earned yourself a cheat meal, the Dankery is
I
very
agree.
very good food. Then here in Louisville, a couple options. I love seafood, so there's the Fishery on Lexington Road.
Okay.
Out here, really good seafood, cod sandwiches, catfish sandwiches. Um, there's Valari, which is an Italian restaurant that I really love. Dasha's Bistro down on Main Street, downtown Louisville. Um, Louisville's a big time culinary school area. There's a lot of great food here in Louisville. So, but
Okay.
those are some of my three favorites.
Right. It's a great city, and I'm going to check those spots out when I come through town and check out a game, Coach.
Yes,
Coach
sir.
Smith, man, thank you. This has been just awesome. I appreciate you taking time out. Good luck with the start in a couple of weeks with all your guys. I know you're excited to get them on campus, and we will be following you guys this year, and I'm just excited to see what the Louisville Cardinals do, and I think it's going to be great this year.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, Dan. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Thanks, Coach Smith. Man, great stuff from Coach Smith tonight. We just want to say thank you again for joining us. And just a reminder, do us a huge favor if you're on YouTube before you log off. Could you please hit subscribe to our podcast on YouTube? Or if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, please subscribe and give us a follow over on Twitter. I want to thank my producer, the man who makes all this happen, who's awesome, Jude McLaren. And then I would like to thank our sponsors. We have Pie Society. Get some pizza right here in San Marcos. Go grab a beer over at Zelix. Have a great time and enjoy our wonderful season or our wonderful city of San Marcos. We'll see you next time on Basketball and Brew, and thank you for joining us.